Good evening and welcome to the August 25th meeting of the Board of Selectmen. Everybody would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks for joining us tonight, whether it's in person or over the video feed. We will move right into the agenda. Any announcements from the board?
Back.
John's feeding us
Yeah.
back. The only thing that I would mention is we lost a long-time citizen and educator in the community over the past week since we met again. Elizabeth Mitchell, better known as Betty, up on Deering Ridge Road, passed away, 93 years old, and so she certainly will be missed within the community, and we condolences certainly go out to her family. Anything else?
You never know when you're going to meet one of the fine citizens of Waterboro. And I'd like to just say hello to Mrs. Wallace over at Applewood. She ran into me down at Southern Maine Medical Center and said that she enjoys watching the Board of Selectmen on television. She called me by name in the hallway and said, so we had a little chat there, and it was pretty good. So I'm just extending her some best wishes tonight while she's watching.
Anything else from the board? Additions or deletions to the agenda. We do have one addition that we need to add, and that's the opening of the snowplow bids, which would go under new business. I guess in this case, item D under new business.
Take it, since there's only one, you want to take it out of order?
Yeah,
That's gonna be-
we can take it as the first item of new business if that's meets with everybody's approval, so I guess I'd entertain a motion to add that to the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Any additional additions to the, or deletions? Sensing none, we'll move on. We do have, want to do this first?
Sure.
Okay.
Wrong one.
And if everybody, anybody has a problem, why don't we can open the bid now, since how we only have the one, and then we'll move into our appointments. So, want me to do the honor?
You're the boss.
No, I'm not, just one of Bid is presented to the town from Gogler Incorporated, which covers 3 seasons, the 15-16, 16-17, 17-18 season, at the rate of $6,000 per mile for a total of $380,490. And I presume, since this is the bid form, that all of the other things are in compliance with that. There is an escalation, so it goes from $600 to $6,200 per mile in year 2 and $6,400 per mile in year 3. So
How does that compare to this year's?
It's
What we
about-
paid this past year, Robert?
it was in the high 5 somewhere.
5,000 per mile?
Yeah.
No, it was 200 and, about $250,000.
Okay. So it's up significantly from that.
Right.
So that is the only bid. We will not act on the bid tonight, other than to, I guess, entertain a motion to accept the bids from okay. Just to accept the bids, that not award them, but to accept the bids as presented.
I'll move that we accept the bid as presented.
A second. Again, this does not
It's presented.
does not reward or award the bid, it just simply finishes off
Acknowledges.
the process. All those in favor? Opposed? So be it. All right, let's move on to our appointments. We do have an appointment this evening with the Public Safety Committee, and they brought along the York County Sheriff's Department and Sheriff King and his entourage, I guess. So, Ted, I'm going to turn this over to you, seeing as how you, Public Safety Committee requested the meeting. So, step right up to the little mic.
Well said. First of all, I'm Ted Doyle. I am the chairperson of the Public Safety Committee for the town of Waterboro. Other members present are Andy Doyle and are forever thankless job, for God's sakes, Nancy down there in the corner. I know that we submitted some information to the Selectmen a couple of weeks ago, a slideshow. We have since sent another one, breaking it down a little bit so that it's easier to read from the screen. And I believe it's broken down by specific points. Hopefully that will...
All right back there?
Did this fall down?
So it's heading must be okay.
There we go.
All right. We broke these down a little bit so that it's easier to read, and also by specific points, in hopes that it might generate a little bit of questioning from you guys back to us. And I will invite Sheriff King and any of his people, Deputy Sanborn and Mr. Mitchell, to chime in anytime they'd like, unless you guys have any objections to that. So, basically, what we've been tasked is to look into the law enforcement needs of the town of Waterboro for the next 5, 10, and 15 years. And we've come up with a little slideshow here showing the pros and cons of having a standalone police department versus the contract deputy program. So, basically, I don't need to sit here and read these unless you want me to, but overall, our recommendation as a committee to you is to, I think it would be fiscally responsible to lean more toward the contract deputy program, just because of the amount of money involved with establishing a local police department. Just a stand-up cost, I think, would be astronomical, and I don't think the taxpayers would even want to think about discussing the dollar values with that. But there are some significant differences to the two different programs. So as you can see with the contract deputy program, everything would go through the sheriff's office back down to the deputies with this direction from the town, as they negotiate contracts for the deputies that work for the town of Waterboro. So with the police department, there is pride of ownership in the contract deputy program. There's also pride of ownership there because the current contract deputy we have lives here in town. He's very proud of the town. He does a lot from my perspective, what I see him out on the road. But again, he's one individual working 40 hours a week. That leaves 128 hours a week of non-dedicated time to the town of Waterboro. There are other deputies in the county that cross back and forth through Waterboro, but they could be in Arundel, they could be in Keyser Falls if something happens here, and our contract deputy's not on. You're talking somewhere between 30 and 45 minutes of response time. And depending on what could or has happened here, that's a long time to wait. So again, leaning again toward bringing on more contract deputies. And again, like I initially stated, local police department, there's a huge startup cost. You'd have to hire a chief of police, the administration, the officers. You'd also have to get the equipment and the setup of some type of police headquarters for them to live in. Contract deputy program, there is no startup cost, basically because it's all right here in play now. Just add another 1, 2, 3, depending on, you know, what the needs of the specific needs of the town are over the next 5 or 10 years. And you know, all you're talking about is additional funds, because we do have, if you can go to the next slide there for me. I think I missed one here, but anyways, different additional costs would be just for additional deputies, which is something that's negotiated between the town and the sheriff's department. So, do we go back one slide, Ken? All right, as far as the fleet, the vehicles that they use currently, and I guess in the past, the contract deputy program, as it's negotiated, the town of Waterboro has actually paid for the vehicle. Our suggestion, I think, with Sheriff King had made a comment one of the meetings we had over the past couple of months, was that he entertain any support he can get for this program, and if he has to, he would attempt to go back to the county commissioners and have them pay for a vehicle. And then that would just leave the cost of the deputy himself for the town of Waterboro. But again, traditionally the town has paid for that, so if something, you know, comes of this and the vehicle for that individual doesn't come from the county, that's something else would have to be negotiated into the budget for the additional deputy or deputies. And the county also maintains their own fleet, so there's no additional cost to the town for that. Excuse me. This one here. Liability is another big thing. I am not an attorney, never would want to be an attorney, but I would think that if we went with the contract deputy program, they have in-house policies or whatever to deal with anything that is incurred by the deputies, you know, in town or whatever. So, not saying that there wouldn't be anything liable for the town, but again, I default to the town's attorney to discuss that more in detail. Something I don't want to do. As far as training, if we have our own police department, we're responsible for setting up things, sending people to the academy, and I believe, what is it, around $32,000 a year to send someone through the academy right now?
Well, it's actually about $2,500 for the actual training, but it's the cost of the salary and all that, so yeah, it does come around $32,000.
All right. Contract deputy program, they have their in-house training for all the recurring and annual trainings, things that's already in place, so that the town wouldn't have to deal with those issues either. Again, police department, we'd have to have a physical place to put them. I don't think there's any buildings in town right now that could support our own police department, no matter how big or small it was. You know, something down the road, you know, 10 or 15 years down the road, that might be a possibility, but, you know, looking realistically today, we do have a small substation within the, it's the main fire hall called the Public Safety Building now. But, well, whatever it is, there is an office in there that the current deputy uses, and if we brought on additional deputies, I would assume that they would be working opposite shifts, so they'd still have that same office to use and conduct whatever meetings or paperwork that they do there. Plus, they have the jail, which isn't that far away over in Alfred. You know, and that also has the armory for weapons, the intoxilizer, and the administrative offices for whatever issues that they deal with outside of town issues. Excuse me. All Currently, we have, the Sheriff's Department also provides a school resource officer that's paid for by RSU 57 at the town. If we have our own police department, they would likely take over that responsibility, and that's another added cost to the town for a resource officer for that. I think this slide is pretty well self-explanatory as far as the department handles all their own discipline and terminations. And again, if a contract deputy is found to be undesirable by the town for whatever reason, they can request an immediate transfer or replacement of that deputy through the Sheriff's Department. If we have our own police department, that's something the town has to deal with, and I have no idea what's involved in that, but I can't imagine it's a easy task. If we have a police department, there will be a union. Police do have unions, and contracts have to be negotiated and associated costs with attorneys for things like that. The Sheriff's Department negotiates all their issues with the County Patrol Association now, so that's, again, no additional cost to the town. Our own police department, again, is the police chief would be necessary to management of the force. He's basically administrative. He's not heavily involved in patrol operations. So, Sheriff's Department, they've got all the resources that they need. They're already in place, and if we needed, specific supervision or management issues to deal with, they do have sergeants that could be added or serve as liaisons between the county and the town of Waterboro. That being said, there are, I believe there's at least 2 people in that category as far as sergeants in the York County Sheriff's Department now, I believe, that live here in town that could be part of this program too, but again, that would be up to the sheriff to determine that. So, and again, the Sheriff's Department has their own criminal investigative division, and we have access. The contract deputy has access to all those features, for lack of other terms, that the Sheriff's Department has. If we went with the local police department, we would have to, again, get some type of a detective designated within the police department, and I'm sure there's an additional cost to getting someone spun up on that type of detail. So, again, with the police department, local police department, have a lot of people that initially start, I think there's a term that the law enforcement uses, a blue pin, I think it is, which means basically fresh people coming out of the academy looking for jobs. They get in somewhere initially, they stay a year or 2, and then they move on for upward mobility, more pay, and things like that. So you'd have a constant turnover initially with the local police department. Contract deputy program, generally the people I believe that the sheriff would consider putting into that program would be seasoned officers, someone that, somebody probably that has anywhere from probably 5 to 10 years of experience at least to come into that program, which is a benefit to any town that has this type of program. So, most of this information was provided by Deputy Sanborn, who I believe is here in the building. And if there's anything in dispute, you can speak with him directly. Sheriff King can also chime in, add, or if there's something that I've said that's out of place, he can gladly come up here and throw his 2 cents within, because again, this is just something that we've been negotiating with the people. Now, negotiating is not the correct word, but we've been talking to the people about. Sheriff King talked with the the people in Standish, that the town manager over there, regarding the information that he's provided to us for the contract deputy program he has, which is very similar. The town of Standish is very similar to the town of Waterboro as far as population. And also with Chief Grovo over in Buxton, who has his own police department. Again, his information was provided earlier in the year, and the difference between the two budgets that we looked at was probably $500,000 difference, which is right here in this next slide, I guess. So, yeah, Buxton's for 2013-14 was $914,000 versus $466,000 for the contract deputy program in Standish, who has 5 full-time deputies and 1 part-time. And that figure also includes 1 new vehicle, about $29,000 a year. And then there's a fuel budget of $34,000 in that. So, and again, the proposed budget in Standish for contract deputies is for 2016 is about $436,000, and there's no new vehicle involved in that dollar amount. The other thing I'd like to say, as far as Deputy Sanborn here in town, our contract deputy, the number of calls for service that he's had over the past year are almost twice as many calls as the town of Buxton, and they have 9 police officers over there. So Deputy Sanborn's definitely got his plate full, and I believe that additional deputies would definitely lighten that load for him and make things better for everyone here in town. So other than those slides, the only thing I'd like to say again is thank you to my committee members for going through all this with me for the last couple of months. We spent numerous hours collecting and reviewing this information so we could provide it to you. Again, we think it's fiscally prudent to go the route of a contract deputy versus a local police department just because of the cost involved. And looking at the potential and economic development and the population growth of the town over the next several years, our recommendation to the Selectmen is to consider adding 1 additional contract deputy in the next fiscal year, a 2nd contract deputy or 3rd deputy the next fiscal year, and then 18 months from now, reevaluate the entire program to see if we need to add additional deputies beyond those 2 additional to the 1 we have now, based on the growth of the population of the town and the economic development. Back in at the town meeting in June, Article 34 requested, and I believe was approved, for $108,000 for a contract deputy program, and that I believe did pass, so that's in the current budget. Broken down into simple terms, it comes out to $22.50 a year for each of the 4,800 taxpayers here in town. Broken down a little bit smaller than that, just so people can understand what it's going to cost them to bring an additional deputy on. It's $1.88 a month. That's the cost of 1 cup of coffee at Dunkin' Donuts a month for each taxpayer. Personally, I think that's a pretty decent amount of money to put out of your pocket every day to protect the people of this town, the businesses in town, and everything else that happens here in town, especially like in this time of year when we have additional people in town. You know, the tourists, the people that come in, you know, to spend their summers here in town, use the lakes and other resources that we have available. Other than that, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight, and I'll relinquish the podium to Sheriff King if he wants to add anything to this for you.
Thank you very much for allowing me to say a couple of words. And Ted, thank you very much, and Mr. Doyle and Nancy, really, I think they did a it's nice to have somebody else pushing your agenda to grow the department, and I think it's needed. You know, Waterboro is the fastest growing town in York County. I think we've all seen the statistics, and it really, and the calls for service are increasing. And I think that if we all agree that Waterboro does need additional police coverage, I think the two ways to get there, either have your own police department or contract with us, the national trend is toward consolidation and toward in municipalities growing, you know, teaming together for services. And I think Mr. Doyle did a good job when he talked about the cost of recruitment and training. That is astronomical. And I would urge the town of Waterboro not to become a blue pin mill, not to become a police mill, where a lot of young officers will get a job in a small department, and frankly, you have some departments very close by that people go there with the expectations of going elsewhere. And it's very costly to a town, the recruiting and training, and then even when they get out of the academy, in 16 weeks at the academy, and I think it is only like $3,000, and I probably minimize that because you have to pay for a lot of things while the recruit is there at the training, but plus you're paying for his transportation, you're paying for his salary, so it gets very, very quick. It gets high very quick, and then when they come back, you have an FTO program so that they learn your procedures and they learn the geography of the town. The other thing that you gain is you gain the specialties that we have. Now we do have detectives, we have we have plans to get a canine, we have a DRE, which means a drug recognition expert, and Mr. also mentioned about not rookies. No, I mean, we typically do not hire new people only because of the nature of our job. I mean, we have a wide geography. Deputies go to calls, they're there by themselves. So we really need people with a lot of policing skills and de-escalation skills, and a lot of verbal judo goes on. So we don't have rookies. And also, when you folks want to have, when we start hiring some additional contract deputies, you'll have a say. Just last week, the major and the chief sat with Mr. Trevetherin from Arundel, and they chose another contract deputy for Arundel. So it's not always, you folks will have a say because we want someone that's going to fit in your town. This Mr. did mention something about the vehicle that I think I misspoke when I said, well, perhaps we can do that. And upon further discussion, the county won't buy a vehicle to be used exclusively in Waterboro. We couldn't do that. And just as a general reminder, the contracts are between the town and the commissioners. So if we do get into any further discussions, I think we should, when we start talking about the numbers, we'll have the county manager come up and crunch the numbers with you all. But I'm open to any questions. I know, Sean is here and the major's here, then we're really ready to answer any questions that you might have. But, just my closing talk is that, I applaud you folks for looking ahead, and because it is going to be a time when I think Waterboro is going to need, I think the time is now that you need additional policing coverage. But I think it's good that you're having this conversation, and Mr. Doyle's plan of having a couple of planning this 2 or 3 years out is very good. Thank you.
John?
One other comment, I think in favor of the contract deputy program is, as you're developing the program and you wish to possibly change directions, it's going to be easier, quicker to undo the commitment that you have to the deputy program than it would be to undo the developing department. So if it wasn't working and you wanted to go to a different direction, I think you're much more flexible with the deputy program.
Anyone else on the board, any comment? Gordon, I know you're the liaison between the board and this committee. Anybody would like to add 2 cents? If not, I think we take your,
I will. Thought there was gonna be more conversation here, but the sheriff came to the 12-town group meeting. We talked about a wide variety of things that evening, and I'm curious down in the long run of whether or not we could have a more true county police department, that non-police department towns are assessed differently and paid directly for, so there can be better coverage throughout the county. At about $100,000 per deputy, there's no economy of scale there right now. The towns pay it all. So I'm hoping that as the years go by here, that something toward that effect will happen throughout the county, because the rural towns are not being well served right now in terms of protection, in my mind.
Just so I want to understand, you said that the rural towns are not being well served?
In terms of numbers of officers, Waterboro is a perfect example of that. I mean, we have one deputy here that's not enough. And if there was enough coverage countywide for a department to cover, let's say, all non-police department towns, and that was an agreement all the way down through the budget committee and the commissioners and the sheriff and everybody, it would be a much larger force, and it could be able to attend to these things in a more reasonable manner than, I'm not saying you're not doing the best you can now, but you and I both know that you don't have enough people at certain times of the week.
You're absolutely right. I mean, I think the small number of officers that we have, and for the type of work that they do, I mean, we all read the newspapers, it's very dangerous out there. And, and I've made a lot of presentations to the budget committee and to the 12-town group, and the thing that I keep hearing is that the coastal towns, the towns that have their own police department, don't want to see money expended for for county patrol. And the fact is that we do assist, and I don't crunch the numbers, and I don't tell you everybody every time we solve a burglary in Saco or we solve a crime in Sanford, but it is a good thing that you do have a strong county patrol. And it's concerning to me that you have a lot of bleed over, and if we have basically a lawless town, you have a town that has no organized police department, or that we're going back and forth, it does affect the other towns. It does affect the cop towns. So I agree with you that I think we could be much more effective, and if we were a more a better staffed sheriff's office. There was one town, and it's no secret, Buxton wanted to contract our services, but I think once they started peeling the onion, saying, my goodness, they don't have enough people, and we're not a good enough product for them to contract with. So I think you're approaching it from a much more methodical standpoint, and I think that I think by the time we get there, we're up at 2 or 3 deputies, and when Mr. Doyle said maybe in 18 months we'll reevaluate it, I think we're going to be there. I think the sheriff's going to be where it needs to be in the next couple of years. But.
And I'm not so naive to think that this may take some legislative changes. Certainly if you're going to assess towns without police departments differently than those with, from a tax standpoint, it's going to be probably several sessions of the legislature to even get that off the ground. This is not going to happen quickly, even if it ever does happen.
Yeah.
I was also thinking that your rural patrol has got to be high percentage of reactivity, where you have a local policeman here. There's more proactive stuff going on. Is that true?
You are absolutely correct. With rural, we're completely reactive. The only proactive things that we do is with a contract deputy. That's why I like to see that. Just a couple of months ago, we had a gangbanger from New York City was selling heroin in a small town that did not have a contract deputy. He'd been operating there for a couple of weeks. I would contend to you, if that gangbanger was here driving around and he was hitting his New York plates, Deputy Sanborn would have known about that. within 24 hours. So I really think that it certainly is the eyes and the ears, but we do. When we get calls, we're very reactive. It's not the correct way to do policing, but we're doing the best we can with the resources that we have. The contract towns really are special. You can see a lot more of our attention is there because the contract deputy is uncovering crime. Up in Acton Shapley, they were a little bit surprised the first year they had a contract deputy. They said, gee, our crimes went up. We had more calls for service. I said, yeah, it's because somebody's there looking. I mean, instead of just waiting for us to get called and come back. So,
I think, Sheriff, that we're probably at a crossroads here, and I'm not I really wasn't going to use this as a soapbox tonight, but I don't disagree that we need to do something in Waterboro. I really feel that we are being, I don't want to say this politically correct, those of us that have contracted with deputies become the fall guys to make sure that we have correct police protection in our communities, all right? When it really should be, you know, if you talk about collaboration and consolidation and everybody working together, you know, why isn't there 3 times the amount of officers in rural patrol? Somebody is taking their eye off this ball, and it starts at the county level. And I don't think that the municipality should be the ones that start saying, okay, we're going to have 3 contract deputies or 4, or Buxton is going to do this, or because all that does is put a Band-Aid on our town for a short period of time, right? And those communities that say, well, we're not going to jump into that. Whereas I think if it was a countywide push to say, you know, we're going to dedicate certain rural patrol to certain communities so that we have that, I guess, interaction with the community, okay? If you had enough deputies, I think you could do that. The way it's structured today, it isn't going to happen. So contract deputies is kind of the Band-Aid to take care of that. Somewhere, somehow, there's going to be a task force that sits down and says, how are we really going to run this community sheriff's department, this county sheriff's department? I'm not putting it on you. But the fact of the matter is, and it's the same as the state police. We just keep taking money away. The numbers keep going down. You know, and instead of absorbing the cost over the whole community or the whole county or the whole state for that matter, now we're saying that's going to go on to the individual property taxpayer. Whereas I think it really needs to be, somebody needs to really sit back and take a look at this. And I think, you know, Gary and I have talked about this a little bit, the board, and we've all had some discussion. Something radically has to change. We can't, you know, add another one next year, add one a year after that, and then, you know, maybe some other town adds a few, and all of a sudden you've got, you know, 30 or 40 contract deputies and 3 rural patrol guys. I mean, I don't think that gets us to where we all need to go. It should be 30 rural patrol guys and, you know, and a few extra guys that are on. And I think if it comes to a point where, and I was one of the first ones to scream when some of the town managers suggested that those police communities stop paying for rural patrol, but they do provide service, or they do absorb service from the sheriff's department. So I think the whole picture has to be, what do they get for a benefit from the sheriff's department? What do the rural communities get? And somehow come up with a tax mechanism or allocation mechanism that meets state law, or and if the law has to change, so be it. But this isn't, I don't believe this is going to be solved by just us throwing a few more contract deputies here and there and everywhere, and it just isn't going to, in the long run, not going to work.
Well, you did say, I really just don't disagree with anything that you said. I mean, if I had my druthers, I would rather have more deputies. And I think in a perfect world, if a town like Waterboro says, I want to have a contract deputy, I could have, you know, Sean Sambon would be doing an assurance program. He'd be doing welfare checks, he would be going to the local businesses, he would be doing installation of car seats, he'd be doing community events, and we would be handling the calls.
Right.
But really, when you said Band-Aid, that's exactly right. I don't like running a business, and I know you're a businessman. You wouldn't, every year, I go, gee, I hope I don't need to lay somebody off. I hope the towns vote for the contract. And that's what I do, not 14 times, well, I do 7 times. I just hope that that the town sees the benefit. And, and it's not, it certainly hampers, future planning and things like that. But when you say Band-Aid, it is a Band-Aid, but I'll take that Band-Aid for right now. But I would much rather have the county managers or the county commissioners say, see my point and say, yeah, we need additional deputies and to start building up the force.
Something has to happen. And I don't disagree that we don't have, I think that as we go along, we need certainly more dedicated folks to law enforcement within this community, because we're a growing community, just like, Buxton is or anybody else. But the fact of the matter is, I'm not sure on the long term this is the model that's going to work.
Well, Commissioner Cody, if I could just 1 second, Tim. Commissioner Cody said a couple weeks ago that he's never been told, and he's your commissioner, he's never been told that we need more patrol. Nobody in his district, of which Waterboro is part of it.
He's never been at our meeting either.
Has never. Well, he's having
He's
having an open meeting next Monday at the county center, and he's inviting everybody. Maybe you've seen it in the Shopper's Guide. He's inviting everybody to come in his district to tell him what the issues are. So I would urge people to tell him that.
Okay.
All right.
Dennis? I think that, a couple of things from a York County Budget Committee member perspective, a couple of things have happened over the past 5 years, I think, that has been detrimental to the Sheriff's Department, was that when the county ran out of money, the contract deputies became a savings to the county. Because instead of saying, Waterboro, you're going to take on a contract deputy, we're going to hire somebody to specifically be a contract deputy, they took that deputy from the pool of staff, the Sheriff's Department. And they relied on the municipality to fund that. So now if Waterboro decides we're not going to fund the contract deputy next year, they lose yet another person. And so the county has used those contract deputies to supplement the budget without actually replacing those deputies. So this staffing at the Sheriff's Department is smaller than it should be because of the contract deputy programs. And to be fair to the sheriff, he did come in and ask for a substantial increase to the budget this year to start adding some of the staff that he needs. The budget committee asked the county commissioners about adding money into the budget, and basically what we're told that even if we put additional funding in the budget, the county commissioners would not necessarily expend it on the Sheriff's Department because they had pretty much made up their mind about what their budget was already. So the budget committee opted not to put additional funds into the Sheriff's Department because we knew it wasn't going to be expended. And so why assess the county towns that money that we knew was just going to end up going into overlay? So I think the contract deputy program has been a benefit to the municipalities that have taken it on, but a detriment to the Sheriff's Department in that they've lost staff, and I think we're getting less service because we don't have the deputies that we need to supplement the contract deputy program.
Yeah, I think the model just doesn't work when you expand it across the county.
Just wanted to give you this report. I don't have enough copies for everybody, but it's my understanding the county manager reputes that fact that they took the deputies out of the general rotation, and he did some research, and this was obviously before my time, but for the benefit of you folks that don't have it, that in 2005 we had 18 deputies that came out of the general fund, and currently in 2015 the budgeted positions are 19. So he used this at the 12th town group to show that we haven't basically gone back, that we've actually increased one deputy in 10 years. So we're quite, anyway, and back in 2005, we had 3 contracts, and in 2015, we do have 6. But I just want anyone to compare what was like. I mean, we've gone from the statistics that we have, and I think it started back in like 2009, we have 43% more calls for service in our towns. We back in 2005, nobody thought of heroin was something that they were dealing with in the Bronx, New York. We're dealing with it in our backyard now. So I mean, just so many things that have increased that his statistics. I mean, his sheet actually kind of, I think, makes my case that one deputy in 10 years. And again, the contract deputies, to go to Mr. Abbott's point, it only helps. It's a Band-Aid for the town. You know, Sean Sanborn, I can't say, gee, we've got a problem with speeding cars on Hill Road and 111. I can't say, hey, Sean, get down there and run some radar, because he is yours. So he's dedicated here, and rightfully so. So I don't have that option of moving my forces around.
But I think what else that shows very clearly is, in 2005, you had 18 deputies that could roam the entire of York County. Now you have 6 that are dedicated, so you've only got 13. You've lost 6 staff members.
No, I think there's a grand total on the other side there. In 2005, we had 21. Now we've got 25. That accounts for the other 3 contracts. But
you had those to patrol
Right.
all of York County.
Correct.
Now you've lost 6
Right.
that are dedicated, so you have less of a force that's able to patrol York County.
Right. Well, I did have 3 contracts back in 2005.
Okay.
Just so,
But,
you know.
It's a big-
what you have just said is, Arundel just signed another contract with you for an extra deputy. Shapley and Acton signed one
Right.
a year ago.
Right.
And those deputies come out of your pool, and you wasn't able to hire 2 new deputies to take over your patrol.
Actually, we did. We hired there specifically for those departments. So, I mean, the statistics are, you know, what they are. I mean, we've gained 1 deputy in 10 years. And,
In the growth of York County in 10 years is,
yes, well, we're the second, aren't we the second, or we're the second fastest growing county, but. all right.
okay,
Thank you.
well, we're not gonna solve it talking about this tonight, but I think it is a bigger issue that has to be addressed to the startup, to the county commissioners. I think in the interim, certainly we're gonna have to do what we feel is best for the town of Waterboro. So as we enter budget season, I would guess that we will have to start to scrub that down and take a look at what it means. So, anything else?
And I think our
John?
Public Safety Committee has set the stage for Budget Committee for budgeting this fall. So you've got the information there. So I expect probably we're going to see something in the budget.
Okay. And thanks to the folks on the Public Safety Committee for being diligent and pushing, and your work's not done yet, so it doesn't end with just a report, right? So, okay, anything else from the board? We will move on. Item 6 on the agenda, hearing a delegation. Anybody that's not on the agenda that would like to speak? Paul?
Paul Tibbetts, live on West Shore Drive. This is the issue of the tree on Ricker Lane. I just wanted to bring you up to date on what we have done.
Okay.
We have a survey here that was done in 2009, and it shows the right-of-way to be 29 feet going down Ricker Lane. And where that tree is located, the only way we could get a good reading of measurement was to go all the way back to Hamilton Brook, which was 373 feet. And we did that. At least my son and I did that. I couldn't find, I know that stone across the street is no longer there. That was gone when my mother-in-law lived there. And we tried to, with a metal detector, to all around the tree to find, but there's so much metal fragments there. We pulled up drill bits and all kinds of stuff in there. That thing was going crazy. So the only way we could really find out was to go down the Hamilton Brook and do the measuring from the brook. And there were 2 pipes. There was a pin down there from the surveyor, so we knew that was a good point to start from. And so we measured from there, and that point is because the property ends in the middle of the brook. They put that 12 feet off the center of the brook, so you have to subtract 12 feet from the total measurement. That made it 361 feet. So we measured the 361 feet up through, and there were 2 orange posts that kept us on line, so we knew we had a good line there. And when we got to the 361 feet, that point was 7 feet behind the tree. So the tree is in the town right away. Okay. So at that point, so that I wouldn't have to go back and do that long measurement again, I continued the measurement over to the edge of the tar, which we know they're going to move. And so if we needed to get that reference point, and that was a total of 375 feet. So subtracting the 12 feet from the middle of the brook and the 2 feet extra that was to the road, coming back 14 feet, put us right back on that same spot again, 7 feet behind that tree. So now we don't have to really get on it. I talked to Doug probably 4 times last week, all because I was keeping him updated, and he was working around town anyway, so I happened to run into him several times. And I showed him this print, the last of it, and he said he was looking for some other stuff, but he would get to it right away. But I would really, at this time of year especially, I really don't want to be talking about this tree in late September, early October into November. I'd really like to get that tree down by the end of September. That gives 6 weeks to get it down. And that shouldn't be a problem for most contractors. It's one tree. It's a big tree, but it's going to have to be handled, carefully, because there's 4 residences that this tree can reach, and it's so big that they could demolish a house, and anybody in it, and but that tree, I think originally they when they put the road down through there, that tree, they've moved that road over intentionally to miss it. Okay, because from taking these measurements, if you take that 14 feet and add the width of the road, you've already used up all plus 3 feet of that 29 feet. So, the road is basically shoved to the north of Ricker Lane, and there is no buffer zone on one side, and there's twice the buffer zone on the other side. But that was probably because the people drove down that road and missed it anyway for years, and then when they put the road in, they just put the road in. And I'm not asking them to move the road, but I would like to get the tree down in some kind of a fair fashion. Yeah.
So you have all of those measurements drawn out?
Yes, I do.
You can give to Gary and...
I'll let him have this one here.
Well, I've been there with that same survey. Paul's done a little bit more work, and I wouldn't mind talking to you. I actually got the whole document from Corner Post Surveying last week.
Okay.
So I'm glad did you talk to Doug since we got that document?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I talked to him when I showed him this one, but I didn't know that he had one already. But he knew that it was Corner Post.
Right, this is not an agenda item, so maybe you and I can talk at another time.
Okay.
You can keep this because I've got the other
Okay.
one.
All right.
This is probably a $3,000 to $3,500 tree to take down that we will have to pay for, obviously. We have these all over town. None of them this large, and that one is definitely dangerous because it has been hit by lightning. You're right on that.
Quite a long time, quite a lot. That tree was there when I moved here, 48 years ago.
It's still standing.
I know, but you ought to see it. It's bad.
I went down and looked at it. The interior of it is just...
It's scary.
I mean, the woodpeckers have to eat too.
Yeah, I know.
Stop in and see me if you would, please.
I would.
This week or next.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else? If not, we'll move on. Item 7 is correspondence, treasurer's reports, list of vacancies on the town boards and committees. York County Community Action Fuel Assistance Program is just starting, correct? And you need to have an appointment to meet with the York County Community Action Fuel people.
Yeah, I need to
correct?
get the dates of when they're gonna be here.
Mr. Chairman, can I
Yes.
just add that their appointment's still up quick?
Right.
So if anyone's anticipating needing some fuel assistance this year, I'd recommend that you call as soon as possible to schedule your appointment with York County Community Action.
But they do spend a day, a week here,
They
right?
come
But you
once
have
a
to have
month.
a month, right? You have to have an
Starting in
appointment.
October, and you
Right.
have to have an appointment already.
So look for that information being posted, and I'm sure it's in the local papers. Next item was Jensen, Baird, Gardner, Henry Municipal Client Seminar information. They are the town's legal representatives, and they run an annual or biannual, I guess, session after the legislature adjourns to talk about new laws and how they affect the municipalities. We have our EcoMaine Recycling reports. Let's go into reports and staff initiative, Selectmen's reports. Dwayne, anything to report?
Nothing.
Amy Jo? Gordon?
I don't know if anybody's been down there or not on the Straw Mill Brook Road, but that has been paved now, and it's a nice road. You know, our Public Works Director did a nice job on that. Although I was down there serving some of those papers that occasionally I have to serve, and somebody down there told me that they thought the DOT state inspector down there had kicked everybody off the road, which I thought was a little comical. And I called our Public Works Director, and they said no, they were down there with our town surveyor and a couple of people from DOT that were giving some advice on some of the drainage down there. So you can see how some misinformation can be circulated through down there. But if you haven't been on the road, I mean, it's really nice. And I'm assuming that our contract deputy has probably been down there because it makes quite a nice little racetrack, you know, down there.
It's easy going.
It's easy going? Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're up on Daring Ridge now, right, the Public Works group? And
Yes.
And I know that they're gonna change the traffic pattern on that, because they're gonna install, I know he's talking about wanting to install another stop sign as you're coming off the Ossipee Hill Road, because we put one on the opposite corner at the request of Kathy and West Layton. And otherwise, you know, people get on there, it has the potential for, you know, a good head-on collision there, so. But the road is in great shape now.
Anything else, Gordon?
Nope.
John, anything?
The second annual Waterboro Photo Day will be coming up and this time it is days, there'll be 2 days, on the 9th and 10th of October, right in the middle of foliage season. Gordon, get the camera out. There'll be more information on that. For those people that wonder what the photo day is, or what the result is, just step out into the foyer here and take a look at the photos up on the wall. It was really the first one was beautiful. I think we'll have a great representation for this fall, and you'll be hearing more about it.
Okay. All right, moving on, Gary?
You have nothing?
I have nothing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When I started out, I didn't make any copies of this because my report was so brief, and I apologize, it'll be just oral tonight. Update on our salt shed. We go before the planning board for a public hearing on September 16th, and a continued review that night. The bid specs for the building, requests for proposals are in process, as are final documents for DEP, for the remediation and agreement and deed covenants that have to go with this because it's a pollution site from many decades ago. We'll talk about the ambulance in a few minutes, but basically I support the chief's recommendation of Sugarloaf Rescue Vehicles being the vendor for this next ambulance. In terms of staff changes, our town clerk has resigned as of September 7th, so we're in the market for a town clerk. She's moving on to a position closer to home in New Gloucester, and we wish her well in her new position up there. And Bob Gobiel wants to travel more, so he's getting done at the transfer station as soon as possible. So we've been working to try and find somebody else to fill in down there. We think we might have found someone.
Does that mean he's going to no longer be on the Water District Board? Is there gonna be an opening there? We're gonna have an
I have
election?
no idea. You'll have to ask Mr. Gobiel directly. I haven't seen him since, for a couple of weeks now. Assessor Bob Consul has been working on our tax commitment. He had a family medical situation today with one of their children, and Alex, his son, is here to pinch hit tonight to explain some of that documentation and the basics of the commitment. May not be definitive, but it'll certainly be a start to inform the board. Thank you for those comments about Straw Mill Brook. That was very well done. Deering Ridge Road, the drainage work is essentially done. We're going to move on to grinding very soon. It's going to be ground once or twice with the big rototiller that grinds up the asphalt, and then final paving next month. So that's it from me. Thank you.
Okay. So Alex is,
We ready to go?
is on. Let's go.
Okay, do you get my stuff? I don't know if you want to turn it off here.
We asked for a review tonight. As most of you may know, when the new charter came into being the responsibility of the board now is to appoint an assessor, and the assessor has responsibility to set the tax rate. So this is a information meeting. The board does not take an action on this, so go ahead, Alex.
So once again, my name is Alex. If you don't like anything that I have to say, I'm here on Monday and Tuesday, so you can come in and yell at me at that point if you feel so inclined. So we're working on the commitment, and we're going to run through a couple things. Next slide, if you don't mind. So just for those of you who are unfamiliar with it, the tax rate is set mainly by the spending on the municipal, county, and school level. You subtract out the other revenues that we get from revenue sharing from the state, also the fees that the town collects through the town clerks and other small revenue streams. But then you divide that number that you get by the total taxable valuation of the town, which is made up of the real estate, which is, your houses and your land, your businesses, and the personal property, which is the things used in the process of business in town. So this gives us our minimum tax rate. After you have your minimum tax rate, the state allows for a 1 to 5% overlay that the funds that you collect over the minimum amount necessary go into the general fund. Now these general funds can be used for a variety of things, and they essentially cover some of the town's unforeseen needs. Next slide, please. So this year, between our spending and our other revenues, we come out with around 11 million. With the town's taxable valuation coming in at 765 million. So this would give us a minimum tax rate of $14.40 for every $1,000 of value. With the 1% overlay, that would be $14.54, and the 1% overlay is in line with what we've done in the past years. So this is the typical tax rate, and this is provisional, but this is what we're looking at the moment for the tax rate for the town. Next slide. Now, there's a couple complications. There's a couple small adjustments we would like to make. The first regards the county tax. The county tax we have to collect to send to the county. Next slide, please. Last year, the county tax was collected twice in the budget. The way it was written into the budget and voted on, it was collected twice. This has been regarded with some difficulty by various people and has caused some headaches here in the town. Now, the extra $424,000 that we collected by double collecting the county tax went into the general fund. So the general fund was artificially padded by this extra collection. Next slide. So we have a couple options that we are suggesting to the board, and I'd like some feedback on this on the board's preference. The first would be to correct this in 1 year. We have to reduce the taxes so that people are getting paid back equivalent to what was overtaxed previously. So if we reduce the tax rate by 55 cents, the tax rate will be the same as it was last year instead of going up like it normally does. And this would result in those extra funds not being collected, and we would use money out of the general fund equivalent to what was over collected last year. So we can either do this option A, do it this year by reducing it 55 cents and having no tax increase this year, Or option two, next slide, we could reduce it 41 cents this year and then reduce it 14 cents next year. So we're kind of softening the curve of the increase. If we take option A, we are not, if we take the first option, we're going to have a steep increase in taxes next year because there's an artificial lull in taxes this year. Taking the first option means that we are going to get this problem solved and over with, and the income is going to be redistributed out equally this year and be over with. If we take the other option, we'll have a slower increase of taxes, which may cause less questions when taxes actually go out and people are paying their bills. So I would like at this point to ask if the board has any preference as to this and what the strategy should be going forward. If you would prefer to have the immediate relief or have kind of slower controlled relief.
Thoughts?
I'd almost be inclined to go with the slower curve, so
Okay.
that when there is an increase, it is not a shocking impact to everybody. It's going to be gradual, whereas I think that if we solve the whole issue now, like you mentioned, the next time we're going to take a heavier hit, and it's going to be a heavy hit on the taxpayer. I'm not so concerned with questions that might be asked as I am with the end result into someone's pocketbook.
Yeah.
I'm inclined to go with this option here because it's more gradual on both sides of the issue.
Okay.
I agree with Gordon for the same reasons.
All right.
Amy Jo?
Yeah, I agree with the second
Okay.
option.
So
as well.
second option seems to be more palatable to the board at this point. All right,
Mike?
very good.
I
So,
would say go with the second option. The only thing I would like to see is some type of a small letter go out with that tax bill to explain this to every taxpayer to what did happen, so that they're not surprised in 2 years when that tax bill goes up dramatically. And that the board
Yeah,
explains that there was 55 cents tacked onto the tax bill last year because of the double taxation, and that the board has corrected it in this year's tax bill, but hang on to your,
yeah, you're gonna get 80% of it back this year and 10% back.
yeah. But explain that to the
Yeah, I think it has to be
taxpayers in a
explained.
small note in the tax bill. I mean, it ain't gonna cost anything other than printing the 2 or 3, a paragraph to explain what
Yeah.
went on.
and most
Okay.
likely having a letter go out the following year, once again explaining that this
Right, right.
second
Yeah.
tack on is happening.
So Alex, drop back a couple of slides there.
Okay.
The the 765 million,
Yes.
I guess is the right question, right? Is the right, for total valuation, is up by how much over last year's assessment?
I don't have that in here, but the increase hasn't been anything out of line with previous years. We're still continuing on the same sort of trajectory that we have been with.
So we're not gaining a lot in valuation.
No, there hasn't been any dramatic gains over, I mean, the town is growing, that's for sure. But we're not seeing anything out of line this year with previous years.
It was just north of 7 million, wasn't it?
Mhm.
One year to the next.
So 1%.
Yeah.
Any other conversation or any other
This-
thoughts about this?
This year, you're gonna drop the valuation of the property, but the tax rate is gonna go up, so
Thank you for
that's
the
going
segue.
to really confuse people that they're gonna have the same tax bill, but the value of their property is probably gonna drop because the value is decreased in valuation throughout the country.
Yeah, that's the next thing I'd like to talk about, if you wouldn't mind scooting forward a little bit. So this is the second adjustment that we're planning on making. There needs to be a market correction in the opinion of the assessing department. Next slide, please. So the tax rate and the ratio of value in the town are linked. We are saying that we're certifying the ratio at around 100%, but in reality, through analysis, we have come to the decision that it looks more like town properties are uniformly assessed around 20% higher than they should be at this point. I took 3 calls today alone about people saying, hey, you have me assessed for this, I can only sell for this amount less. This is been a big thing for a lot of the people in the towns, that when they go to sell or when they look at their assessment, it just doesn't add up. They're looking at it and it just doesn't seem right. Because of this, we'd like to lower all the assessments in town uniformly by 20% to bring them closer to an actual market rate. The tax rate will go up because of this, but you're not going to see any increase in taxes. Nobody's individual tax bill will change due to this adjustment of the ratio. So if you look at my example here, we have 15 Blueberry Road, it's a new house I went out to. I've rounded it up to $200,000 for an assessment. Now, if it was assessed high, you could say at a 120% ratio, it'd be assessed for $240,000 at a tax rate of $1,167. The yearly tax would be $2,800. Now, if we bring that down, 20% goes down to $200,000, and with a tax rate of $14 for every $1,000, you still are paying $2,800. Now, a lot of times people say, well, the tax rate went up, the tax rate went up. If you are lowering the ratio and you have the tax rate go up, you're not going to see any effect. So this is going to, A, give people more of an easy sense when they look at their assessment of what they can actually sell for. It also makes it easier for them to refinance their home. There are a couple other benefits to devaluing the town's properties a little bit. And so this is the other change that we're planning on making in the assessing department, just so things are a little bit more in line with reality and so that people have an easier time understanding their property bills. And next slide, please. It's essentially all we have. The one other factor is that the state ratio maximum is 110. So if we're going to be honest about where the town is, we are assessing beyond what the state really allows, and we'd like to correct that to get back in line. The other thing I'd like to mention is that the valuation work isn't quite complete. Today I found 83 properties that had their, these are exempt properties, fully exempt properties like churches and school things, that from last year and previously the exemptions weren't being calculated correctly. I had to correct those. I also had another 93 properties that were coming in at no value due to the way they were calculated before we started assessing here. So there are a few bugs that we're still trying to stomp out. So there could be some minor changes in the numbers that are coming up here. For the most part, I've been doing my final bug checks for the last 2 weeks, and things are looking like I'm getting them really lined into shape. Bob, the other assessor, he's working on a lot of the other things in town, and we think we're right around where we need to be to commit, but we wanted to come in and talk about these things before any commitment issues happen. So I'm wondering if anyone else has any questions at this point that they need to ask.
No, but I think when we do this, I think certainly Dwayne has a good point. We need a very concise and clear message that goes out with the tax bills of what happened, both from the county tax issue and the quote-unquote revaluation issue. Because the first thing that anybody's going to look at is the mill rate went from 14 to 17. What are you doing to us, right?
Yeah.
And so. All right, Bridget, you have a question? Want to hit the light here?
Okay, we were thinking about reducing the amount by, I think it was 41 cents this year, and then next year 14 cents.
What happened, Bob?
They're on the other switch.
Hit that switch down there, Dwayne. Oh. Good. All right, everybody in the back that's been sleeping.
That one's over.
All right.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I just want to say that was as clear a presentation as I've heard.
I spent 5 years in architecture
I
school
mean,
and
it
I've never
can,
used
it
it for
can
anything
be
else.
kind of, seem like a magic show up there, but, but that was a very clear presentation.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And thank you for your attention. This is a pretty boring topic to most people, so I appreciate people listening.
I wouldn't call it boring.
Not at all.
The,
Important information.
the point is, you're taxing them at about 120%. When you get all done, you're still gonna tax them at 100%,
Right.
not at 80%.
No, not at
I
80.
mean, it's,
And this just, if you look historically, we've never gone backwards. It's always, we're always below the market because the market was always climbing.
But
And
at this
in
point,
this,
that's
and in this
changed.
point,
the
this is.
sad part is, the short sales, bankruptcies, whatever, you can't tack that into, to get a realistic, sale price. Because, 1 out of 3 is either being sold short sale or bank owned or something like that, and those are thrown out the window.
Yeah.
On
It'll
all
be an
the-
auction.
Right.
Yeah,
There is a lot of distressed
Yeah.
sales, but we're hoping that turns around the next couple of years.
Yeah.
We'll have to see.
Okay, thanks.
All right, well,
Alex.
thank you.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah,
I think that we probably need to do a little more than just a paragraph in the tax bill. I think that maybe we ought to put something, either in the reporter, something from the town, or in the smart shopper, a budget saver, or whatever, to get the message out to people, to let them know. I almost sense that if they saw a little piece of paper in their tax bill, that's probably gonna go in the round file, or it's not gonna be really clear enough so that there's an adequate understanding of what's going on.
yeah, I think that's gonna be something that we. look at.
that might be a good point, Gordon, because some of these tax bills may not even go to the property owner.
Right.
They go to the bank.
Many go to the
Many go to the bank now, rather, because they're collected right with the mortgage payment. So
Right.
the landowners will get it, but the house owners may not get that.
Okay, message received, Gary's busy writing, and he's writing down pink paper and those kind of things, so. Let's move on to new business, discuss vote on committee appointments. We have one committee applicant that did not show tonight, we'll hold that one off, but we do have a request from someone to be appointed to the budget committee and the fair hearing committee, so what's the board's pleasure? And I'll speak at once. This is the Southward request.
I would move that we accept that. Accept his appointment.
Do we have a second?
A second.
Any discussion?
Do we know why why he's interested in the budget committee?
Wants to be more involved, right? I mean, that's the message, right?
My question is, are you moving to appoint him to both of the committees he's indicated?
I would say, I guess that would be your motion, Gordon.
Budget
Yes, it
committee
would.
and fair hearing.
Yeah, because
The fair hearing is a,
the fair hearing is extremely
once in 3
intermittent
years.
at this point, and the budget committee is only for a, very relatively short period of time during the year. I mean, it's an intense period of time, but it's, so.
Is this person's name to be uttered?
yeah, James Southward.
Thank you.
Anything else? Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. All right, back to item, discuss vote on a committee member's resignation.
I'll make a motion to accept Todd Smith, I believe.
Yep.
Resignation from the Parks and Rec Committee.
Old Home Days.
Old Home Days Committee.
Sorry.
With regrets. And
And-
many thanks.
Do I have a second to that?
Second.
All right.
I can't do that,
Been
sorry.
moved and seconded to accept Todd Smith's resignation from the Waterboro Old Home Days Committee. I believe the explanation was he was went back on the committee to help in the first year of the
Revitalization.
Right. So, any other discussion? If not, all those in favor? Opposed? All right.
I will say that I probably should meet with the Old Home Days because I do have a midway that is very interested in coming to Waterboro Old Home Days, so.
Okay.
I've got all the contact.
Okay. We need to establish the next ordinance review workshop, so get your calendars handy. I think our intent was to meet again on the
15th is the
Right.
comp plan task workshop.
Okay,
So we've got the 1st and the 29th.
so what's your pleasure on the, want to do the first, or you want to put it off to the 29th?
So the first would be
Because
next.
the 15th, where we have the
The
next, the 15th, we have a workshop on the comprehensive plan implementation stuff.
We're talking September?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So do the 29th?
29th works.
Okay.
Yeah, that
Everybody
works.
good with that? Need to
Yeah,
take
that
a vote,
works.
we'll just schedule it for the 29th.
What
6?
time? 6?
Yeah, I would say 6, it's us, right? And we can bring in whomever else we need.
Okay.
Anything else? We took care of the bid, right, earlier?
Yes.
Old business, discuss vote to approve a lease for the food pantry. We've got a lot of back and forths, right?
If anybody wants hard copies, Mr. Chairman, I have both the version from the pantry's attorney. Dwayne, are you all set with copies?
I get copies here, yeah.
Okay, Tim, you go to the
Yeah, definitely.
laptop?
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so let me start, only because I guess, you had Attorney Nickerson review.
Yes.
There's a couple, 3 things that came out of that, right?
Yes.
One was the use or the rental of the hall for some other functions that may or may not be associated with the food pantry.
Exactly. At the last meeting, if you recall, you had mentioned that you wanted all the town leases to be equal. Well, the snowmobile club, they're allowed to, their lease was accepted and they're allowed to rent out their premises and so forth.
Okay.
We're going to have a very small hall, so it's not going to be like a big venue. Like say somebody wants to have a baby shower, they don't have the space in their apartment and they want to rent maybe for $50 for 2-3 hours. It would help the pantry, it would be an extra fund to have in our budget. But that's about all, because we wouldn't be able to have a big venue, because the hall would be too small.
Yeah, I think some of the initial reaction was,
Yeah,
well, we
because
really
it's-
talked about a food pantry here, not a hall that we were
Right.
renting out, unlike certainly the snowmobile club as a hall, right? And-
The snowmobile club, the ATV club, those are social organizations.
Right.
They're not in the business of having food set out that they're distributing. It's an open facility. The snowmobile club has a full kitchen. So I don't think one size fits all with the contracts. I think you have to look at each venue a little bit differently.
Right.
And I don't think that the food pantry falls into the same category as social club of, like the snowmobile club or the ATV club.
What it is the pantry part will be all locked up. So the hall is very separate. It's when you walk in, you're walking into the hall. And then there's a 10-foot by 24 feet, that's the pantry, and that's kept locked at all times except when they're giving the food out.
How big is the hall area?
It'll be about 24 by 24.
And so what would the fire rating on that be, Matt, for maximum occupancy?
One of the factors we'd have to look at first based on, I can't just give you a number real quick, but depends on what the construction is and haven't seen any plans for it at all, so.
For 3 square feet.
There would be no kitchen facilities then for people renting it.
No, none.
Bathrooms would be accessible to them.
Yes.
Yeah, the
Yes,
concern
that would
is
be,
that.
we'll have a closet in the bathroom where we'll keep our cleaning supplies and that.
But the consideration is that the staff that mans the pantry,
Yes,
the facilities are gonna be designed in and around that, right? One
Yeah.
bathroom,
yeah.
there's
The
no
bathroom is
kitchen
off the hall.
facilities. The parking facilities are associated with how many people would potentially be visiting.
Mhm.
So when you get into the point where you start renting the hall out, all of those things have to come into play. Is the bathroom big enough to support who you're renting it to? Is the parking lot big enough to support who you're renting it to? Those are the kind of things I think that drive my antenna up and, okay,
Well,
are we having something that we're gonna see overflow parking somewhere?
No.
Or we've got a single stall bathroom that we've got 40 people trying to use and.
No, I don't see that happening because it's a small hall. And we may not rent it, but we want the option to be able to if, like say one of our volunteers says, I live in an apartment. I'd like to give my grandchild a birthday party. That's maybe 12 people. It's perfect.
I see, I have no problem with you renting it, but I want to have control here is who you rent it to, when you're renting it to, and under what conditions. I mean, you're talking about a baby shower, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
But what about a bachelor party?
No.
Well, and you say that, but
Well,
10
we
years
have
from
rules
now,
and regs,
you
what-
have someone that is running the pantry whose son is getting married, and they have a bachelor party. So therefore, I think you need to come to us to say, here are the operations we would like to do over the next 3 months, and get an okay. And you go ahead with it. But I don't want to be out in the cold here.
Right, we have board members that would make the decisions. This is 2 board members right here, and myself, and we have 2 other board members. And they wouldn't be making the decision what's rented and what is not. The volunteers would not have any say-so on how the,
Yeah. But still,
yeah.
I mean, this came up and I thought, okay, sounds good.
Mhm.
In most of the cases, you come here, you say, here's what we'd like to do, no problem, no discussion, sign off on it. But I like to still have that option open.
Okay.
I mean, that's my take on it.
Well, what would happen, like say for instance, one of the volunteers comes up to us and says, on a Monday, and they said, we'd like to have a birthday party, like say Sunday afternoon for the grandkids. There'll be like 10 to 12 people. We're not having a meeting for a couple of weeks. What do we do in that case?
I mean,
Could we put a limit?
again, I think if the board said on something like that, we give the authority to the administrator
Okay.
to do that. And on some things that come up fairly quickly, we could give our authority to the administrator.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
I guess I don't agree with that. I don't want to be involved with what's happening at the food pantry. I think we're gonna lease them this piece of property, and I think that it needs to be the food pantry folks that run the food pantry. I'm not in favor of it being a rental hall, however, because it is gonna be a small structure. I'm concerned that it's large enough to support rentals. The fire chief hasn't seen the plans. What would the maximum capacity be? Do you have enough bathroom space? Do you have enough parking space? I think that renting a piece of property to the food pantry is absolutely a win for the community.
Yes,
Because we have
definitely.
people in our community that need that service, and I think that it's phenomenal that you have spearheaded that. You've gotten all the volunteers, and you've really rocked this.
Yes, I
You've
have.
really moved it along. But I think at the same time, you're asking us to, give you this piece of land, lease you this piece of land, and I think that we had an agreement in place. We worked through that, and I don't like these last minute changes by your attorney. I think it goes kind of against what we were sort of planning in the front. So I'm comfortable with what our attorney drafted, And that's kind of where my thought process is right now, is I'm good with that. I'm not good with what your attorney's recommended.
What about if we had, this checked out to see how many people that we could have in there and put a limit on it? Say, you're not allowed.
Well, you'd have to have a limit anyways.
Right.
I mean, every building has an occupancy.
No, I mean about on
limit.
the rental, that you're not allowed to rent it to have more than X amount of people in there, period.
Yeah.
And I could, one of the board members could be in charge of that.
I guess I'm not in favor of hall rentals. I just think it's beyond the scope of what we were talking about.
I can see that fraught with issues there too. If you say somebody's having a birthday party, now you get 2 kids that show up that put you over the limit. Now you're gonna be telling 2 kids that they can't become involved in the birthday party. Now you get a couple of crying children running around because they can't participate in it because the town set some rule about the number of people you can have in there. I don't even want to get into that. I'm completely with Selectman Gerard on this.
I'll throw this kicker in. We've got Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, and 4-H clubs around here that haven't got a place to meet. And I know of 2 4-H clubs that have gone outside of the town of Waterboro, and most of them all live in the town of Waterboro, that could not find a place to meet. And most of these clubs have only got 8 or 10 members. And this would be an ideal place on a Tuesday or Wednesday afternoon or something like that for them to meet. And you're not talking a lot of activity, so to speak, an hour at a time. So here's a building that might fit into the community as far as some of these small meeting halls.
This is what I like, is a
But,
limit on how many we can have in there. I don't
But
have a problem
I
with
think
that.
it falls under
I think
the,
you change the language, so it's not a rental hall. It may be very well a place for groups or organizations to meet. I think you can
Can we
work-
still
you
charge
can-
them?
I don't think a
in that
4-H
respect, I would
club
say-
that wants to meet is gonna be able to afford to pay you.
Yeah.
The Scouts aren't either.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
but there
We have a
again,
room here that we let, Tops has been in for a while. and they-
Weight Watchers has
Weight
been in
Watchers,
there,
and
there's
they
been
didn't pay
Girl
anything,
Scouts
and
that
it's
have
still,
met in
it's
there.
available to them. I mean, it would be
Yeah.
available to the Scouts as well.
but that's not saying that you're not gonna get some community,
Comments?
But I do.
help.
Couple things. You folks are in charge of your 501c3.
Yes.
You have to be careful about showing a profit.
Yes.
That's all we need to say about that.
Right, we can make up to 5,000 a year.
The other thing is, if you start to go down this road and this board authorizes a lease where you can rent, you potentially have to build this building differently, for a different use. Fire chief will be involved with that, and so will the code officer. Bathrooms, parking, and you drastically change the use of the building and what you may have to build, so just beware of that.
Maybe required in the state law, correct me if I'm wrong, to have some type of sprinkler system in there.
It all depends on what exactly is in the structure.
Well, it's gonna have to be ADA compliant anyway, because of the nature of
Right, they were
what
gonna
they're
do that
serving.
anyway.
Yes, yes, we're just gonna go by all the codes.
That's not a criticism, what I'm saying, that's just an observation, that if you change the use of it, then the code officer, when you submit the building plans, and the fire chief, will be wanting to see the proper attributes of that building to meet the use, so.
Gonna change the septic system requirements.
It could, yeah.
See, this is not gonna be a regular weekly thing.
we
and like that. It would
understand
be
that, but
once in a
it's,
great while.
But you still have to take
you
that in
still gotta take
consideration.
that into consideration, and that goes either to the planning board or the code office and the fire chief and all of that. You
And I
keep
think-
opening, every time you come in, you keep opening more doors and you,
Well, it was mentioned to us because he'd read the other lease and, he said.
Well, I think in principle, the leases all should be very similar. That doesn't
Right, that's
mean
what he
that-
was
That doesn't
saying.
mean that you go off and do the same thing that the snowmobile club does.
No, it's just that we give us the option. That's
So I
the-
think you see the reaction of the board with that initial change. I mean, there were 3 things that Attorney Nicholson brought up, the rentals. I'm not a fan of you renting it if you want to work with somebody to have meetings there or something of that nature, fine. If people want to give you a donation, that's fine.
Oh, okay. Well, we could probably go that route.
And that's my opinion, that I'm one of 5 here. There was some other issues, and I had a reaction to the termination clause, which said that we had a right with 90-day notice to terminate.
I think he kind
we
of
need to.
involved the parking lot situation with that, because you all had mentioned that we had to blacktop the parking lot right away, and otherwise we'd be kind of in default.
Well, my concern is that there's certainly some level of expectation of what's gonna be done with the building.
Right.
But 4 or 5 years from now, I don't think it's in your best interest if the town can just say, hey, in 90 days, we're terminating the lease.
Right.
I think there has to be some meat behind that, there's either gotta be for
Exactly.
cause, or it's gotta be, so I asked Gary to dig out the other leases, I'm not sure that you had a chance to look at that, but,
Yeah, that was the only thing I had a problem with, because we'd love to put the parking lot
Did you
in, but we
have-
have to
did you
raise a
have-
lot of money
did-
just to build the pantry.
did you have in your hands a snowmobile club lease?
Yes, I do.
Can I look at it, please?
Sure.
I
'Cause
think
we
that
can't
dis-
seem to find it in the town.
I think we discussed the parking
Oh, did you
lot
find it?
issue last time we met, in saying that you didn't have to have it paved right away.
Yeah.
That wouldn't,
Okay,
You know,
as
no.
long as that was clear. That was-
it's in the minutes of our meeting, I think it's pretty clear.
Okay.
Smith and Elliott prepared this. That's why our current attorney doesn't have any record of it, because it was done by Smith and Elliott.
I think I mentioned that last meeting.
You have a copy here at the town hall. Because that's where I got it.
Yes, we do.
The only other changes that I made was, we had a contractor that told us that if I put the building 24 by 36 instead of 25 by 35, it would cost us less for lumber. And I'm not a contractor, so I didn't realize that, so when they told us that, it says, great, thank you. And I put in for the change, and I was told a foot wasn't a big deal as far as a site plan and that.
Hey, if it saves the money, right?
Right, well, that's,
And
you
you
know,
still got the same
That's
same
how
square
they-
footage
Same
afterwards.
square
Build that
footage.
out and-
So where do we stand here?
Well, I mean, the town attorney has said that they also suggested that the approval or consent be with town administrator and not selectmen, and our town attorney was okay with that, and as well as the rental agreement. If that changes to what Mr. Nickerson wrote, then I think he wants to beef up some other sections of it, and that was provided in the comment column of his document. If the 90-day termination clause stayed in there, that allowed him to keep the lease a lot more brief, I guess you would say. There was also the question of a performance bond, as to whether or not the Board of Selectmen, wants something like that to make sure that the building, will be constructed in a timely fashion.
well, we have to raise the funds first, and I've been writing grants left, right, and center.
Yep. well, I
Written
know.
9 so far, so
Well,
been quite busy.
Yeah, it's not a question, I think, of your lack of enthusiasm and desire. We're looking at the possibility that, let's say, 2 or 3 months into this construction, that everything just falls short, and now you have a half-completed building that's gonna sit out there for, 3 or 4 years, and,
No, we were advised by Mr. Shoemaker that what we're gonna do is, once we have the funds to build it, then we start. We're not gonna start till we have the funds, because that would be stupid.
So in which case, it could be a clause in the amount of time in building. That X number of months or whatever to complete the building. But
Once we start,
yeah,
Yeah.
upon start, yeah.
because we have to, this is a small town and raising money in Waterboro. We've raised $5,000 since May. So I think that's very good considering it's a small town. And a lot of the business people have not given money because they think it's not going to happen. Because they figure once we get the lease, then they'll donate, not till then. So, and what they used to do, the old pantry used to get between $5,000 and $6,000 a year from the businessmen, and that's what used to support the pantry.
And so you're planning on using that support money for the building fund?
No, no, no. We're applying for grants and that type of stuff for the building fund.
Okay.
That's where we're going. We have had some donations from different people. Like we have a gentleman from Alfred donated $1,000 because he thought it was a good thing that we're doing.
And I don't know if you're aware of it or not, but the governor has, I think, what, $200,000 or up to $200,000 in discretionary funds that he can release for different types of projects. He just gave $50,000 to one place in Maine for a youth center.
I'm going to put him on my list. Definitely.
All right, so we would take exception to a couple of things here. One being that the agent become the town administrator.
The reason for that was, he explained it to me, like say, it says that we need your permission for any changes that we're doing as we're building.
Yep.
Say for instance, they need an answer right away. Gary's available. And you know, time is money when you're building.
Changes in the building wouldn't go through the administrator, it'd go
Right.
through the code enforcement officer.
Right.
So I think
That's
that's a
true.
little, that might be a little bit, and I think, you know, the agreement's gonna be between the Board of Selectmen and the pantry.
Right.
So I think that assigning our responsibility to the town administrator probably is, I mean, first of all, he's got in there the language town manager. We don't have quote-unquote a town manager per our language in the thing, even though he meets all of those definitions, he's a town administrator, so.
Right.
And that's in our charter.
Right.
I am, and it's only my opinion, I'm somewhat in agreement that we should put some conditions on a 90-day notice for termination. I think pantry needs to be protected, that some board 6-7 years from now decides, hey, we're gonna kick them out of there and we're gonna take it over. So I think there's gotta be some rationale.
Well, this is what we were
Defined
concerned
for-
about because of the different stipulations.
Well, I don't think it should go away. I just think it needs to be qualified to the fact of, if there's something that radically happens that is for cause, then the town has a right to terminate the lease.
Unless
The
we
same as-
rectify it.
Right, and the same as, you know, if the pantry goes defunct, it automatically gets kind of, the lease gets broken anyway because of the language in the lease.
Right.
But if there are other reasons that the pantry may very well say, hey, we need to move on, or we're doing something else, or you consolidate it with some other municipality, whatever the case may be, I think that those situations have to be somewhat, not specifically clarified, but I think there has to be some language that would give.
I think you can use the idea as you would in an employment contract with just cause.
Right.
Yeah. The only other thing that I was concerned about, and I didn't understand the wording too much, I tried to get a hold of our attorney, but he was busy today. There's a part in the lease that says that should the pantry go funk, whatever, that you end up with not only the land that we built on, but any land that we're using for the pantry, which would be the land that was given to us.
I think that's probably standard legal language. I mean, I don't know how you'd ever
It
split it
shouldn't
up.
be,
If that's the way you're reading that, I didn't read that.
oh, okay, maybe I'm reading it wrong,
You
but I
need to-
just wanted to make sure.
Double check with Charlie on
Yeah.
that, because that wasn't the intent, because that gentleman donated that land to the pantry, not
You
the
don't want them to
Right,
have it.
but in there it says any land that is used for the pantry,
shall vacate the leased premises.
Least.
Right,
You're not,
Okay.
you're not leasing that land, that was given to you.
right,
Yeah, the only-
but then it says any other,
Become the owner of any buildings or improvements located thereon.
Of the leased property.
oh, okay.
Yeah,
As
all
well
we're
as to
entering
any-
in is the least.
Well, maybe she's got, as well as to any buildings or improvements which may extend onto other property
See,
owned or
that's-
leased by tenant.
See, that's owned or leased, that's the part that,
But it's buildings or improvements, it's not the land.
improvement would be like if we
But if you
put a
build-
parking lot on there, that would be an improvement.
Yes.
And that would give us extra parking, but then, you know, this is the thing, I wanted to double check everything because unfortunately, the buck stops here or whatever I'm signing, it's for everybody else. So I just want to make sure. That's the only part of the wording that I didn't like. The
Well,
rest I'm okay with.
He's gonna deed the property over to you, is that correct?
It already is.
It already is. Is there a covenant in
No,
that deed?
there isn't. It was just, he said, quote unquote, he was giving that to the pantry to be used. It couldn't be a buildable lot, but it could be for extra parking or whatever else the pantry could use it for.
It almost seems as though perhaps an attorney should have viewed that before that was passed. There should be a covenant in there, I would think, that states that that property, if the pantry should dissolve for some reason, that the property reverts back to the heirs, because, you know, Dennis made a good point. You could have a board 10 years from now.
Well, basically what he told me on the phone, he says, and I asked him that question, and what he says, something happens, the pantry's dissolved, you can sell the land and give the money to another pantry, is what he said.
You know, I think and I think the intent of this, and I hate to say that I understand the intent of any attorney, but should you build onto this facility and it goes onto that adjacent property, then I think that is part of the improvement, right?
Well, there won't be structures onto that piece of private property. that
But I
was
think
done.
this addresses the fact that there might have been.
It could be parking, it could be paving.
Improvement could be parking.
But this
But
says,
as he's reading that, he probably hasn't got the survey, and
right,
if part of the building's sitting on that other piece of property,
No, he
then
knew
No, I
that,
don't think
because I
you can do
had
that
the
anyway.
copy of the site plan there, but like he says, if you put a parking lot there for extra parking, it becomes an improvement.
but
And
those
where it says-
are our attorney's words,
Yes,
That's correct.
right?
Yep.
So, now Charlie didn't
he didn't change
object to
that.
those.
That's right.
That's the only thing he
So
told me,
may
he
very
says
well-
check with that,
he may
and
very
that was
well
it.
recommend-
Just for the improvement, if that word is removed, then we're okay with the rest.
So, what's my homework, folks?
Well, what's the general feeling of the board? I mean, let's take the three issues, I think, that are really in front of us. One is, do we want to enter into an agreement that allows the pantry to lease the building?
Not lease, just rent, maybe once a
Well,
month or something.
Maybe I used the word lease wrong.
Yeah.
Rent the building.
No, I'm not.
Well, you know, you brought something up. I'd rather the whole piece not be in the contract. And then if the pantry wished to have a non-pantry activity going on there, and they wish to use it, have people, and people came in and used it for several hours and gave a donation, that's up to the pantry. And if it was something that the pantry thought that might have any impact at all on the town, or need an okay from the fire department, or then they need to come over here and get the okay. But I don't think that necessarily needs to be written into a lease.
Okay.
So that's my thought.
So we're not leasing them the building, we're leasing them the land.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're really kind of, I mean, we're saying that, you know, they're gonna put this together, they're gonna put a building over there for a food pantry, and that's kind of the intent. I mean, if you go back let's talk about the first one of these that we ever went into, which was with the Lions, and it's very specific that they have to have a medical operation, some level of medical service operating in that building in order for them to comply with the lease. So, but it does not disallow the fact that, you know, they run fundraisers, they rent the hall out, they do those kind of things. So I think we're saying that, hey, the primary use of this building has to be a food pantry.
Which it will be.
I mean, if there's some opportunity, and you're restricted under 501c of what you can or can't bring in for money, I'm not sure that we're in a real panic if they rent the hall out for 50 or 60 bucks here or there. So.
And it would be
that's not-
something
that's
small
not the
and the board would
It's
be
not
in
the
charge.
intent, it's not the intent of the building. The
Right,
intent of the building is it's a food pantry.
right.
And the other thing is, if it's just the food pantry and they wanna have a fundraiser, I don't think they can have a fundraiser without being able to, you know,
So I think that,
if we limit that to just the food pantry, they can't have a fundraiser over there for the food pantry.
so I think you have
And
to.
we'll have to be raising money to
You have
get the food and
The
so forth.
qualification is here that, you know, the facilities that they're gonna have are gonna support some level of activity. They're gonna have a one-stall bathroom. They're gonna have X amount of square footage that will accommodate parking, right? I think whatever they do has to be within the constraints of the function of the building.
That's right, it doesn't need to be put in the lease.
Right.
Okay.
So. Does that give you any clear?
Yeah, that's clear as mud considering,
I mean,
in terms of a comprehensive direction from the board.
if there's nothing in there that says they can't rent it, why would we put any language in there that says they can? That's one of those things that's always easier to ask for forgiveness than for permission, right? But I just don't, you know, I mean, for what little, I mean, I think the initial reaction is, hell no, you're not gonna build a building that you can go rent. They're not building a building that they can go rent, they're building a food pantry.
Right.
And at some point in time, there may be a room that they could rent or have some donations derived from because they have a party there or something. They still can't do anything beyond what's allowed in the building for a head count, right, Matt? They've only
Once
got,
the building's constructed, then they can ask for what they can use it for, and
right.
that's what's determined.
And I would
That
think
would-
that
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 would
would
be it.
really be, but I do think that that declaration of what you want to do has to be on a building permit. When you go to see Glenn, you have to be able to say, this is how many square footage are dedicated to this, and this, and oh, on an occasion, we may rent X amount of square footage. Now, that may put antennas up on the code officer.
And I'll tell you how many chairs you can actually have in that room.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were serving over 800 people a month.
And
At
that's
the church.
also going to, if you apply for a,
Yeah, but you're not serving them all on the same
So,
day.
No.
At the same
Yeah.
time.
Put in for the language.
They come once a month, and they'll be coming like on a Tuesday. Like say, if a person comes one Tuesday, they have to wait a month to
Let me
come back.
rephrase that. All 800 people aren't gonna be in the building at the
No,
same time.
no way,
That's, yeah.
no.
Well, I had 2 okays from John and Dennis and no from Tammy Jo, and I didn't write anything down for Gordon or Dwayne for the rental opportunity aspect.
I have no problem with the rental.
Okay, Gordon?
If what they are suggesting that they'd like to rent it for, like very small birthday parties or a baby shower, something like that, I wouldn't have a whole lot of heartbreak with that. But if you start getting into, I think what originally put my antenna up was the first email that we got where the word wedding was used.
Wedding shower.
And,
He worded it wrong.
Where I have the hang up, and I think you're right, when we first saw it,
we're looking at large
the reaction
Yeah.
is,
you know.
it says that the building shall be used exclusively for the operation of the food pantry and activities related thereto, except that said hall may be rented occasionally for birthday parties, wedding receptions, or other social events in order to produce rental income to help defray tenants' expenses in maintaining the properties.
It should have read
That
wedding
would
showers.
say, we're gonna rent it all the time.
No, it should have said wedding shower rather than a
I
wedding,
don't think we
because
gotta
it'd be
get
too
into the
small.
specifics of
Yeah.
what kind of party is there, but I would say that, you know, this could be softened a little bit to say that the hall may occasionally be rented for small parties.
I'm okay with that.
What they're talking is a 300 square foot
Yeah,
room,
Yeah.
and it isn't any bigger than this here.
Maybe if
so-
we
Right.
just change the word rented to, it may be occasionally utilized for very small functions or something like that.
where rental income may be derived or something,
Yeah,
but I think it
something
could
like
be
that. I'm
softened a
okay
little
with
bit.
that. How about you?
I mean, I could see probably one of the, I could see the town function actually, I could see the garden committee using it for a plant sale and say, you know, and so, you know, and renting it. So there could be, but the main thing is I don't see it needs to be brought up in here. I think you can, if it's legal as far as the amount of people and the bathroom facilities, etc., that you can, and you drop over here and say, we're planning on having this next Saturday. It can get done informally,
Okay.
you know, without a formal piece that opens up the door to.
I think that, yeah, they've opened up too big a
Yeah, and I think
piece of
part of
ground.
it is,
if
Well,
you
I'm not a
have-
lawyer, so
when you read that,
I'm just
that's the first
going by
reaction
what
he's got is, well, my God, they're gonna be renting the building all the time.
Yeah,
No.
Well, then how about if we pull some different language in there that says there's going to be a stipulated occupant load or something along those lines that would very definitively limit the occupancy there. Something that puts some parameters on it.
Well, why don't we check with the fire chief and see,
I think it
you know,
just
the
has to be-
exact amount that it can hold, and we can just put the limit right there. It'll be posted anyways, because I believe it has to be posted.
So I'm concerned with parking issues as well.
Well, we're gonna have our own lot.
Yeah, but how many vehicles is that lot gonna support?
10 to 15 at least.
for every.
And
I
that's
think-
not counting the pantry
I
one.
think I can almost dictate it out of the zoning ordinance.
Okay.
For every 4 chairs that you've got in a room,
Mhm.
you've got to have a parking spot.
Okay.
Plus whatever you've got for hired help or help that's running it. So if you've got 3 volunteers and 30 chairs, you've got to have at least 10 parking spots.
Code
And I
officer will
believe
tell
that-
you what that is.
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe when Glenn looked at it, he said we were fine
So-
with the way it was
So we
set up.
have, maybe
But then he
not-
wasn't looking at it for rentals, I guarantee you.
No,
Let's-
no,
let's-
but see, with the rental, then we have the extra parking with the land that we own.
So we're trying to get to the details here, we
Yeah.
don't need to get to the details.
But it
So
wouldn't be that many,
Let's
you know, that's
talk
okay.
about, have we got at least a majority on the board that would agree that we could soften the language and?
I got 4
Allow
tentative
some-
okays with limits, I
Okay,
guess.
all right.
Yeah.
All right. How about town administrator authority?
I think we just keep
Instead
it
of
as
so-
the Board of Selectmen. Let's not get wishy-washy. And the termination of the lease clause, I think that can be, there's gonna be some language put in there for why would the town
Yes,
terminate the
I
lease?
would feel better with that.
There needs to be some protection there for the food
So
pantry.
change to protect
Yeah,
pantry.
we can't just unilaterally do it for no reason.
Yeah, I would feel more comfortable.
If
Other
you're,
than that, I
if you're
think
storing
those are
rotting
key
vegetables
issues,
out
right?
there and you've been given a warning not to, do it, and it continues and it detracts from the whole neighborhood, then That I think would be something.
That was my whole thought.
Yeah.
No.
At 90 days,
I tell you where the rotting
rat
vegetable
problems
going, on my
and
compost pile at
throwing
home.
stuff outside and not taking care of it.
I used to do
or
that with
something
the
like
pantry.
that.
I
But you
think
get
my
so much
give them
food
a
coming
wall.
in, some of
Take
it's
it
bound to
home, compost
spoil,
pile.
and I
Alright,
don't wanna
so
see it
let's,
piled up.
let's move this on here. So
Okay.
Gary, I think you've got what we need. We're gonna go back to our legal team and now you've got at least a designated lawyer, right, and Charlie Nickerson, and we at least know who's talking to who, right?
Why don't you
Okay.
give me a call tomorrow, and I think
Okay.
you and I sit down first before we go back to legal.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. Like I say, I like the way Tammy Jo said, put it in language that's easier to read and understand, and that way that we all know
I
what
hate
we're...
convoluted.
I know, I do too, because you, like on that other one there where it said, any land that's utilized for the pantry, I mean, that would mean that extra
You have to
parking
write that down,
space.
so.
So that would need to be removed.
I just wanna protect the town against people parking on the townhouse road for something that's going on at the pantry.
That wouldn't happen.
Yeah, well,
It might, I mean,
Yeah,
it's nice that you say that it wouldn't happen, but in the real world,
yeah,
people
Okay.
park where they wanna park and stuff.
Right.
So you're gonna get together with Gary?
yes,
All right,
tomorrow.
So,
Any specific time?
I don't have my calendar here.
It's up to you.
Tomorrow's Wednesday.
you guys can set that up.
Yep.
All right, so we're gonna move on to the next item on the agenda, but the chief has left the room. While he's doing that, I'm gonna jump to other, let's take a vote on approving the minutes of the August 11th meeting.
So moved.
Second,
Any discussion? All those in favor?
abstaining.
Where are you?
I was in St. Louis.
St. Louis.
St. Louis.
thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your patience.
Oh, thank you.
Now that we have lawyers involved, this is gonna go back and forth and back and forth.
Oh, it's easy to think out to where
You gotta love it.
and after boxes 325.
Step right up, buddy.
Still crackers.
Wait, we're awful sorry, but the ambulance has been canceled for another year.
I'm glad we don't pay you by the hour, Chief.
Talk to us, baby.
So, based on the paperwork that you got last week, that we'd like to move forward with our recommendation of looking at Sugarloaf rescue vehicles for our next ambulance purchase. Based on the proposals that we've received and the information that we have, the customer support, and what was outlined last week as well.
Cleo, your umbrella.
Oh, thanks.
That's our recommendation, that you support that.
So, once we make this commitment, is there, what provisions do we have should we go to town meeting next year and there is a failure to fund?
It would
We
be
get
the same-
permission,
the
get
same.
permission from this town meeting to enter into a contract to purchase an additional or replacement ambulance, right? So I'm just trying to feel this out when we cut the deal with Sugarloaf and something happens at next year's town meeting, is there an out? I mean, there's always a failure to fund, I would think, in these leases, right?
That's if that's the way you choose to fund it, which I would assume would be the same fashion as the other ones, but there's a failure to fund clause. We've been down this road before with a failure to fund, and it probably would not,
Yeah, it's not gonna bode well for the town,
right,
but,
so. But based on town meeting vote and what your question was, is that we put the package together and we've gone through the process,
So-
and that's.
so do we have this, is this a final number, chief, or is this
That is the final number that we have for you. After your discounts, 193,821.
Can I make one point about the statement you made about funding? Either town attorney or CPA auditor has said that once you make a commitment to borrow money, subsequent town meeting cannot undo that commitment. They may not put the money aside for it, but they cannot undo that commitment. So we borrow money for this, we're gonna pay it back. We have to legally. Town is committed to.
But we didn't word the article that way. We asked for permission to go forward with ordering a new ambulance.
Oh, that was your point, I'm sorry, okay, I walked in too late.
Okay.
You're right.
So.
Retract that last paragraph.
Right. In this upcoming town meeting, we're gonna have, now granted, it's gonna be a lease, it's gonna be, I don't know what we're into on the, is it 5 years,
I think
7
we,
years?
the current one?
Yeah.
I think it was a 5-year.
5, so.
That's lease purchase.
Right.
The only thing I would say is, and I'm willing to make your motion to go with Sugarloaf. At 250 days, we put that ambulance out to bid with a minimum bid of $3,000. And if we can get something more than $3,000, Sugarloaf don't give a shit if they get it or not, so, if we can get more money out of that ambulance at 250 days, and in that time, the ambulance may not even be running, we don't know how long this ambulance is gonna run. It's on borrowed time, from what I gather. So,
And I think that's fine, it's in the process to put it up to.
that will
So you
say
take,
that the towns, to the townspeople, that we did the best that we could do to get more than $3,000. It's a minimum bid of $3,000, and if somebody else wants to bid on it, it gives everybody a chance to bid on it, and,
I would put minimum 3,500,
yeah, okay,
based on that number there.
yeah. I mean,
yeah, I think that's a.
With no
that's the
warranty
general
expressed.
general feel of the board is that we make some effort to.
Yeah.
So.
35, yeah, I was reading the top figure, yeah. But, that's gonna take 2 ads, so you're talking $80 to see if we can get more than that out of it, and I'll make that a motion that we go with, Sugarloaf and get this ambulance on its way. Delivery date is approximately 270 days, which this ambulance won't be here till next, April or May, so, we're almost a year out at this point. So,
Is there a second to that?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? And with your motion just comes the fact that we attempt to sell the,
Put the
in worst
ambulance
case
out,
scenario, if we can't sell it, we just turn it
we
into.
turn it in, to put the ambulance out to bid.
Was that included in the motion?
Yeah, I
Yes.
think he's-
That was
the
included, okay, I
intent of
just
the
wanna know what I'm
Yeah.
seconding. Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
All right, any further discussion? You all set with that, chief? You don't have a problem with trying to?
No, that's fine, if we can get more, that's great.
You didn't set the figure, only that there was gonna be, he's gonna try to
There
sell it.
would be a minimum bid of
Yeah.
$3,500.
35, which is what
And then,
Sugarloaf's gonna
didn't you
give
just
us.
say that it would cost like $80 to do what?
Just add.
Just to run the ads.
Well, I
mean,
think we ought to tack that on, so it should be
Uh,
3,600
Yeah.
minimum bid. We shouldn't be losing money on it if we can help it.
Right. So is that, I mean, you know what the number is, it's gotta be to increase the revenue back to the municipality.
Right.
Cover cost and increase the revenue. Anything else? All those in favor? Opposed? Let's do it.
Question?
Yes.
Are you changing that the minimum bid be 3,600, or are you keeping it at 35?
I would think for the purpose of the minutes, it would be 3,600.
Thank you.
I don't see anybody objecting to that.
Chief, thank you for all your work and that of others too.
We'll get the paperwork to get that together for Sugarloaf.
So we're a few weeks away from putting a actual order in.
You actually have a copy of the purchase and sale agreement
Right.
there, too.
So you got it. So
We will get going on the funding aspect
calendar,
too.
the calendar starts 270 days out.
From date of actual order.
Okay, so you gotta figure that so it doesn't come in here before July 1st of next year.
That's just payment. We will work with the financial institutions
Okay,
for payment number one.
Yep. Okay,
Okay,
fine.
thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Thanks for your patience.
You're welcome.
We already voted on 11 while you were out of the room. Pending decisions. Week's action list.
I'd like to have one, I'll forget it, I'll wait till the agenda, that's what I
Okay. So really the action list is you sitting with Cleo on the lease, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, out of the public safety thing, really, that's more on a budget perspective, right? The tree issue, I don't know how you want to address that. I'm not sure that the board needs to address it, I think that's.
Yeah, they're gonna have to work that out.
There was a figure of about 3,500. That sounds like a lot of money.
Well, it needs a crane.
Now, you don't need no crane, you just need somebody up there with a bucket truck and drop that. There's no power
You can't
lines
volunteer
there.
to do that.
Anyway, there's an outfit out of, Naples will come down, and by noontime, they'll have that down on the ground.
Old Town Scarborough, they get a truck that's not doing anything.
No, I'm serious, these trees that the state's taking down, they're contracting with, tree outfit out of Naples, and I've taken down a good many of them, and those trees, according on how much cleanup the town wants to do and how much you want them to do, a tree that size they'll have down by noontime.
All right, so discussion items for agenda items. Did you have something?
remember that inquiry I told you about the town of Hollis?
Yep.
If we could have some type of debate on whether or not we should reopen discussions on having a semi or regional transfer station. to
Yeah,
allow-
they've made the overtures, and I don't know, I guess they've spoken to more than one of us on coming back to the table with, how about permitting our people to come up and use the transfer station, right?
I think it's fine. You had set it up before for just everything other than household waste.
Or recyclables.
Right, but they were paying.
They pay.
I
And
think
I
they're
think the
both-
discussion
They're on
is,
the and paid the fee.
the discussion was whether or not that we're covering administrative costs, but let's put it on the agenda, and we'll air that out in 2 weeks, and Clint should be here for that if we can.
Should we extend an invitation to the Hollis?
Probably not at this point. I think
Okay.
they've expressed their desire to have their citizens permitted to come back. So, land trust request for the additional land.
Yep, down by the brook.
Let's get all of that data, and just at least so we can have that discussion of whether we want to entertain that or not.
Let's take a site walk and go down and see what that is.
Yeah, it's a swamp,
Uh,
most of it.
I'd like to see on the agenda too, some further exploration of that piece of property that can possibly be utilized for athletic purposes. If we could see if we could get a company that might contract with us to mine that, to see, how much money the town might be able to drive out of that, to, level that off, or at least, get us in some type of workable plan.
Okay, that's the stuff on the townhouse road, property on the town.
Right.
So do you want a quote from someone on what they'll pay us for stumpage on the gravel? Where are you going?
Stumpage on the ground.
Well,
More or less.
Yeah.
Because you're talking, the first thing I'd do, I think, is get a hold of MDOT and see if we can even get an entrance permit in on that corner. or on that, if there's any place over there that's got sight distance enough to get an entrance permit.
Yeah, okay.
Because
So there's
there's
gotta be,
no
a little-
sense.
there's gotta be a little work, I guess, and that's,
Yeah.
the issue is what's being done, right? I mean, that's
Yeah,
really,
to try to, you know,
Yeah.
at least move in some type of
If you
positive
get an
direction.
entrance permit, and I haven't been over,
Did we decide that we were doing that?
no, I think that's.
No.
I think we were exploring the possibility that can be done and what it might cost the town if we were to do it. I don't think we've got a hard and fast decision, yeah, we're gonna do it, but I think we really need to discuss it.
Yeah,
I
and
think-
I'm still, I guess, a firm believer that if we need additional recreational properties committed and whatnot, that really should be driven by the groups that need it and the Parks and Rec director. You know,
Now,
to
when you
kinda-
get a cost of it, and then it's determined as if the Parks and Rec director wishes to pursue it, then he tries to get into the capital improvement plan. So, you know, that's the way I think that's basically the way you go.
So it's something that, let's bring it back up next week and we'll.
We don't even have to pick up the haul trash for the rec department, so
Right,
this is a fine idea. It's just a large amount of money, a great deal of work for a 1.5 person department. And, you know, I could also talk to Mike Hayes, yeah,
Mike Hayes, yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
And see what that group does or does not have for capacity. I really don't know.
Right now, 100% of the capacity is fall football. So my guess is they're putting hours and hours into the football.
No, but they were talking, having all kinds of
Yeah, yeah.
contacts for excavators and equipment.
So let's just keep poking at it. Christina, you had your hand up over there, trying to get my attention,
covered it. You're all over it. You got it already.
which is what?
Oh, the land trust.
Oh, okay.
Because Doug asked me about it earlier today.
And the other thing we had, Dennis, was to appoint Nancy Johnson as registrar of voters.
Right, we will have to do that
On September 8th.
once we have lost the register of voters, right?
Yeah.
So we'll bring that back. We're gonna have this gentleman come back for a meet and greet.
In theory,
What else? Anything else?
not for me.
Okay. Sensing that is it. Items needing signature, we have the minutes. We do not have the lease ready. David, you're gonna run the credits, so to speak. So I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Good night.